Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Welcome to Yippee-Ki-Yay Classic. Everybody, this is my pick this week. Hey, everybody. By the way, everybody have a good week.
Woohoo!
Wojo's not here because she took a shot, taking a little rest. She had the vaccine shot, taking a little rest. So our thoughts are with Wojo. Get through that. We try to get her to broadcast from her fever bed, but she wouldn't do it. So
From her fever bed.
fever bed. So maybe
Ralph?
next time. Yes,
I have a question.
sure.
Was I so committed to this show that I came in while in a restroom in Pennsylvania along the turnpike?
I thought
Yes.
you were going to say when you had COVID, but I forgot about
Well,
that.
you did COVID too. You had it. You
No,
had COVID
I did the show live from a restroom in
from the New Jersey Turnpike.
Yeah.
Yes, we
That's
actually
You did
heard
it as a video or a podcast?
Yeah,
That was we brought him in.
As
You-
a-
We had a satellite dish. We
But you
put him
weren't
in.
posting those as videos at the time, right? They were just audio.
Well, that was which I think we might have shot video,
I'd like
but
to see
so
that
we
one.
try to bring Sean in
it was The Witch.
FaceTime. We tried to
Great
do
movie.
FaceTime. It just didn't quite work.
Nice.
Out,
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
but we
one.
did. He had you talked. We did. We had you talking. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
You are committed.
Yes.
But before we talk about the film I brought, we'll talk about what you watched this week. Let's start with, well, go ahead, Brad. Go ahead.
And go to somebody else. I'm trying to think of what I watched this week. I
Oh,
can't
okay,
even
John.
remember. I'll jump back.
Well, on our other show, I talked about some of the stuff I was watching, but for the first time in a year, I watched an entire baseball game start to finish. I watched the
wow.
Red Sox. I have not watched an entire game in a year, and they're on a little hot streak right now. So it was fun to watch. I miss going to the games a lot. In fact, I bought some tickets. I'm going May 6th to a day game. I'm excited about that. But that's what I watched. It was fun. It was exciting.
Were there any restrictions on the day game? Like, are they only selling?
Yeah, it's limited to 25% capacity. So you had to buy tickets in pods. So it's going to be spread out all over the place, but I don't care. I just want to go to a game. So I like it better that way.
Are the pod sizes limited? Like you can only have like the 6 people in a pod, 8 people?
Four. You can go four.
4 in a pod? Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Got to go
John,
to
the
Texas.
whole point of
know.
the pods is that the pod people you're not supposed to know that they're the pod people. So now you've blown the invasion plan.
You're next.
Yeah, see, you blew it.
All right, Sean
Yeah,
Debbie.
Texas. I'd rather go to a full stadium.
Yeah,
I would
but-
go in a heartbeat.
Give it time. We'll get there.
Well,
Sean and
Debbie
Debbie.
and I have been watching, and we're not done yet. We've been watching the Bryan Cranston Showtime series, The Judge.
Oh,
Or is it no, Your Honor?
How is it?
Fabulous.
Yeah, you like it, huh?
Yeah.
It's really heart-wrenching.
Oh,
Hmm.
that's what I need right now is heart-wrenching stuff. So that'd be perfect.
we just watched Bryan Cranston doing the rollerblade, where the roller skating, where Malcolm in the Middle. He teaches his kid to roller skate. Oh my God, that was
He was hilarious on that show.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
was
he's
great.
not teaching anyone to roller skate. In this
no, this is a different one, different
yeah,
vibe.
and, it's funny because if you watched, Breaking Bad, and I'm sure everyone has, his inner evil and rage and resentment, and it like all comes to a front as he becomes like a master criminal. In this case, he's a judge, but he's growing increasingly evil. But he's making a bunch of really horrible choices.
It's Breaking Bad.
John, go get that dog, please. What's going on out there?
That's
What?
Presley.
Presley, tell Presley to be quiet. We have a
Presley.
pod-
Unk Nikima. Unk.
Presley Kusamak.
Nice, Sean. Good job.
Are you going upstairs?
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done for a white man.
So Cranston is good as usual. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
he's really good.
Oh, fabulous.
It's
See,
great,
what I-
very good.
what I
New
wanted-
Orleans, or very good New Orleans feel to it.
What I wanted to see on that
I love
show
that
was
dog.
Michael Stuhlbarg. He's the villain, well, the mobster guy, right? The one whose son dies in the pilot.
Yeah.
Is he good in the show?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, Baxter. Yeah, he's fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
he's
was
a
his wife.
mafioso, and his name's Baxter.
You know who they remind me of in that show is the Addams Family.
Hmm.
Trish,
Yeah, Adam's family.
Morticia and
Gomez.
Gomez.
Yeah.
Ah, you spoke French.
Oh yes, Trish.
All right. Well, no Wheel of Drew today. I think Drew is.
Oh, wow. Because I got a comment that they were looking forward to that bit.
That's a
I
good.
guess
bit.
they haven't published that comment yet, but thank you for letting us know.
Drew.
I've been getting a lot of comments about that.
I have no problem. Go ahead, Drew. What do you got?
So, Bryan Cranston was in a movie called Godzilla in 2014.
Not for long. Not very long.
I don't want to talk about that one, although I do like that one. I watched a movie that came out in Japan a few years ago called Shin Godzilla. I encouraged the Quattrucci brothers to watch it, and we talked about it last night. And I encourage you all to watch it. It's a version of Godzilla that's a completely new take on the saga. It's as if Godzilla has never existed, and it's the most serious take on it since the original one in 1954. And it's very clever. It's got a lot of surprises. It's got effects that are both excellent effects and also a really fun and well done tribute to the big guys in rubber suits punching each other. And it's a lot smarter and a lot more thoughtful screenplay than Godzilla versus Kong, which I enjoyed. But Shin Godzilla is the movie that I keep coming back to and keep thinking about since I've seen it, more than any movie I've seen in a while, except for A Promising Young Woman. So
yeah, it's a good
See the Japanese version. Don't see the
Japanese language. Thank you, John.
I watched the dub
Japanese
version. It's very interesting. It tackles.
You're saying watch the Japanese? Or
Yes.
Watch it with subtitles.
with subtitles.
So what does Shin mean?
Well, Shin is it's funny because it depends on which Japanese script you write it in, but it means different things, including chaos and God and all this different stuff. And so just the fact that that's included to the Japanese audience, because again, I know I missed some things not being Japanese, but to the Japanese audience, that's an even broader expansion and a new wrinkle on the whole thing. Because of course, everybody in Japan especially knows who Godzilla is, but the people who made the movie said, okay, well, you don't know him like this, and in a really clever way. So
But there's a lot of references to the 1954 version. There's music beats. There's all kinds of stuff. It's really well done. I liked it a lot.
And it tackles what drove me crazy about the Godzilla King Kong, which is I can't stand the destruction and no talk about the destruction. This movie is all about boardrooms and talking about the destruction. It really gets into the nuts and bolts and how are we going to get all these people out of here. It's quite good. So
yeah, it's very realistic, I think, for a movie about a giant monster.
It's fun.
Is it available on streaming? I guess it is. If you
You can rent it. If you rent it from Amazon, you can look it up and it'll say Shin Godzilla. Don't rent that one. That's the English dubbed one. Look for Shin Godzilla Japanese version.
Yeah, and I think it was $3.99. I think it was.
They're both. Yeah, they're both $4. So
yeah, it's a good watch.
It's really good.
And I'm sure it's better than the Matthew Broderick.
We don't. What did he?
I mean, everything.
Godzilla. I don't remember that.
Everything is better than that, though. That's not a very
terrible.
Brad, what you think?
Brad, have you had time to think about it now?
Cult.
I had to refresh my memory. So we wanted to go something funny this weekend, just something light and kind of silly. So we watched Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stopping. With
Andy Samberg. Is that who's in that?
Such a funny movie.
Yeah, that was a really, really funny, kind of like the documentary, almost like a behind the music type style. Very, very funny about, he plays he's in a popular group, the Style Boys. Going, and they're very popular and have something called the donkey roll. And it was just silly, but they nailed the genre really well. It was very funny. So yeah, that was a very light take, away from this serious movie that we have here.
So you cleansed your palate with that movie.
I loved his Hot Rod. You ever see Hot Rod?
Yeah, the stunt guy.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about before we started recording. We talked about the Dana Carvey documentary. John, what's the name of that one on Hulu?
I can't remember the name of it.
Like the worst disaster or something.
The biggest failure.
Fantastic documentary about the making of the Dana Carvey TV show that came out in the 90s, I think, on ABC. It's great.
96.
But that's not what I want to talk about. Is the other thing I streamed, and I think, Sean, this will hit your wheelhouse. I watched for the first time in my life Midnight Cowboy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had never seen it. I've seen bits and pieces, and
I'm walking.
And fantastic.
I'm walking here.
Fantastic. And this is what I love about, we talked about this in the other show that we do. This is what's great about streaming is you go, I haven't seen this thing in forever. I think I'll try to find it. I use that watch where you watch it or something. The app,
Just watch,
boom,
yeah.
found it on Prime or something, $2, and discovered that film, and was blown away by obviously John Voight, Dustin Hoffman, Sylvia Miles, Brenda Vaccaro, very early Brenda Vaccaro.
And the Vaccaro.
It's just a great film. So I'm glad I was able to.
What's the other show you talked about it? What was the show that you talked about it on? What was the name of the show?
Stream Quest.
Oh, Stream Quest. Excellent.
In case anybody.
All these shows you can subscribe, hit the notification button, share it.
Sure can.
I mean, it's In the Red Productions is huge.
Big umbrella.
Bigger than the
Big
microchip.
umbrella.
Huge.
All right. But the film I brought today, and I'm getting a vibe that this is a tough.
No,
film
I
for
can't
people.
wait to talk about this movie.
It's a Academy Award nominated film
Yeah.
called
Yeah,
Promising
shows
Young
it's a
Woman.
very weak year.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Obviously, I see where we're going. Promising Young Woman, starring Carey Mulligan, Alison Brie, Clancy Brown, Adam Brody. I think there's going to be some interesting talk about this. I'll describe it a little bit. Promising Young Woman, starring Carey Mulligan, who I didn't realize was British until I saw her on Saturday Night Live this weekend. I was like, holy cow, she's British. No idea. It's about a young woman who had some trauma that happened in her past, and the way she's dealing with the trauma is she goes into bars, pretends to be completely drunk, has men pick her up, take her home or whatever, and interesting things happen. And it's sort of obviously it's a Me Too kind of movie about past rape stuff that went on. It's hard for me to. I want to kind of get into it because I just think I'll just flat out say I thought the film was fantastic. I thought it was going to be a horror movie. I don't want to give away. The other thing is it's so new. I don't want to give away any spoilers. Like I kind of want to.
We can't talk about the film if we can't.
Just give people a warning.
Okay,
They
here
should
we go.
see it,
Spoiler
and then
warning.
we're going to talk
okay?
about it.
Okay.
What are my What's my name?
I thought Carey Mulligan did a fantastic job. No, I've seen her in like Drive and some other stuff. I know she's done a ton of things, so I shouldn't even talk like I know. But I thought she was fantastic in this. I like the flip-flop. Again, I'll say it. I thought it was going to be a horror movie, especially after that first scene where she comes out and she's eating a taco on the street and the guys are whistling at her and you see whatever was on her arm. I thought was blood at the time. It may have been blood. I have no idea. But it took a turn, an interesting turn to deal with someone who had past trauma. It didn't actually happen to her. It happened to a friend of hers, but still it affected her, obviously, incredibly. And how it affected everybody else around her. And also the flip-flop they did on the nice guy. As you know, even in the trailer, they said, I'm a nice guy. Well, I'm a nice guy. And I don't know if you noticed, but all the actors that play all the nice guys are nice guys in TV series that are on. And they're always playing nice guys, including McLovin, right? You know, he's in there as the writer. Sean, I'm sure you liked his scene about the writer, snorting the coke and talking about his book. And everybody said the same thing. I'm a nice guy. And then I was completely invested in the film, and I watched it once, and then I watched it with Maria because I wanted to get, and I said something interesting. Well, I thought it was interesting. Maybe it wasn't. When it first came up, I said to her, this movie's about bashing men. It's going to make men look like a-holes. Because that very first scene in that bar where everybody's dancing, the slow motion and the panning up the khakis of the guys, and the guys are slapping their own asses and they're high-fiving each other and doing the white man overbite, all the stuff that you just know you've done. And her take was not, they're not making look like ass, they're just making men look like men. And she's not saying that all men, it wasn't about all men being a-holes. It was just that this is what women have to deal with all the time.
Just the ones on the podcast.
And it just was an interesting take, I thought. So I kind of want to get into what you guys thought, because I think there's going to be interesting take, but Drew could probably explain, because he's seen this a dozen times.
Only 3.
Okay. 3.
3 dozen.
I think you watched it. It streamed it twice and bought the Blu-ray, right?
Yeah, so I've spent more than $60 on this movie, and
why don't you do? You'll do a much better job describing.
Did you watch it? Does it have a director's commentary? The DVD?
I haven't watched any extras. I'm not sure what's on the disc. I've watched a bunch of interviews with Emerald Fennell, who's the writer director, and Carey Mulligan. They are quite a team together. The way they put this movie together and told the story and stuff. I don't know. What do you want me to say about the story, Ralph? What do you mean?
I think I have no idea. I just thought you'd be more articulate than I was.
Well, I don't think it's a movie about how all men are bad. I think it looks like what you said. It's not the movie that I expected. And if the movie was about a woman who was raped and then is going around and getting detailed, sophisticated revenge on people, I mean, that movie's been made before, and that's really satisfying. And I mean, I watched John Wick kill a whole bunch of people because they killed his dog for 3 movies and counting, and I enjoy that. But it's not that movie, and it's not about how all men are bad. It's one of those movies. It's about something that people don't know or don't want to know or don't like to know, which is, it's not that all men are bad, it's that all women are vulnerable and often are damaged, injured, raped, murdered, all those things because of that. And her whole life is twisted by what happened to her friend Nina, and she can't get past it. And I think it's such an incredible mix of all these different things. It's a thriller, it's a mystery, it's a character study, it's all this really satisfying stuff. And the casting alone, like you said, and you've got, bit parts are people like Molly Shannon, a comedian, actor, and all this different stuff. And it's funny because it's not really that she gets revenge on people until the end of the movie. That's where she gets some version of justice, but she basically gives everybody a chance to come back from what they did when her friend was assaulted and then ultimately took her own life. And that's not usually what you see in a revenge movie. You don't see somebody giving their targets a chance, So everything about it was very unexpected and very smart.
And you mentioned Clancy Brown played her father, and
he's like, amazing cast.
Just touching.
Yeah, and he was in another rapey movie we just saw.
Which?
Yes, he's in Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, right.
It's funny. I just want to say,
John, you're muted.
I'm muted.
John is. Muted.
Sean, you're good.
We're just not hearing John.
What I was going to say is that Wojo was like saying that earlier that she didn't want to do. I was talking to Ralph about this. She didn't want to have a bunch of rapey movies and I'm like, well, and Ralph's like, well, we haven't been that rapey. I'm like, Wind River, and he goes, well, Wojo brought in Shawshank, and that was rapey too.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So Sean,
I can, and I'll give you Michelle's perspective on this but go ahead.
Go, do it.
Go for it.
No. So, but no, she did like the movie. Well, she was very interested to see it because of the storyline, and she had a very similar take to Maria's take on this, because and again, it's not necessarily that all men are assholes, but I think the point that the movie is trying to get across, and that Michelle, got from this, is that men don't understand what women have to go through and how they get slapped and pinched, and she's had her bra snapped and different things like that. And, and guys just laughing at it like it's no big deal. And it's traumatic to women. And that's not even as bad as what happened to, her friend Nina in this. And she said, this woman's my hero. She was joking away. But obviously the woman lost it. This trauma that her friend experienced, and of course it's interesting because they never really say what happened to Nina. She's gone, but they never, you assume she killed herself, because obviously she didn't die from the trauma, because she had it in court and they said she had dropped the case and everything. They forced her to drop the case. But obviously this was a very traumatic thing to her, and it kind of made her snap. And I think that was kind of the real, like you said, I don't think it's necessarily about revenge as much as it is about men trying to get a better understanding of what women deal with on, from being sexually assaulted, or, from that perspective. So
Maria brought up, and I know this is, we brought it up in one of John and I's early cue it up about what my sisters have gone through. And even Maria was saying, she works at a place, guys are up and up back when she was 16, 15 years old. guys are just casually rubbing up against, it's just stuff that we as guys don't think about, and this movie said something to me because I have a 19-year-old daughter who's now living in New York City. And I just want her to watch this and go, okay, just understand what the world is out there. And I mean, that's kind of how it affected me. And Carey Mulligan, I can't say enough. I just couldn't get over her performance and what she was doing. And the biggest confrontation to me, the most interesting one, was her and Alison Brie, when, her friend from college, and what I thought was going to happen. This is what I mean. This movie I kept expecting things to happen that didn't happen. And it showed Carey Mulligan's humanity, or the character she was playing, the humanity of this woman who, like Drew was saying, is trying to get these people to admit what happened and just say, I'm sorry. And the one person who did was the lawyer who went after all these people all the time. And his change and how she reacted to that change. I just found it fascinating. But I want to hear
you notice that Alfred Molina, who plays that lawyer that you're talking about, at the end of the movie, when she is going to go to the bachelor party and does not know what's going to happen and how it's going to go, who does she trust to do the right thing with the information, to get the information to the police, to whoever needs to know about it? She trusts Alfred Molina because he's a man who said, I was terrible. I deserve whatever is coming to me. I deserve whatever you think is coming to me. I mean, if he's a lawyer that defends accused rapists, it was pretty clear he'd done it a lot of times. But he knew who she was. He said he'd been waiting for her. He knew who Nina was. He probably knows and feels the shame of all of those cases that he thinks that he did something wrong. And she knows that he feels that way, and that she doesn't have to have the guy beat him up that she paid to do that was waiting outside, and that she can count on him when he gets the package with the phone and the details to do the right thing. And I mean, that's a guy who essentially destroyed her friend's life after her friend's life was first destroyed by being assaulted. Right. But he changed. And so it's really, I mean, and then, again, it's the casting. Alfred Molina's in 2 scenes? Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. An amazing performance.
All right. Debbie and Sean. And John, I want to hear some.
I really thought this movie didn't make any sense to me. It did not. It was the writing. Now, the acting, Carey Mulligan, I'm going to give her a mulligan because I thought she was great. If this movie was a comedy or, something lighthearted, but it just threw me off, and I just didn't believe it. It was stupid because no way, you're in medicine, in medical school, and your friends, women in medical school, they're treated like prima donnas. This is like something that's not true. Your friends, your cronies are your classmates. You're working together. You're studying together. You're challenging each other. You're sharpening swords with each other, men and women. So to have something like this be reduced to, a group of doctors raping their fellow doctor, it just didn't make sense to me. That doesn't happen in the real world. So
it happens, Debbie, it happens every day in the real world. People work together all the time.
People of all professions, including doctors, are.
No,
you don't put doctors on a pedestal. Wait,
Debbie does put doctors on a pedestal.
Well, okay, but I'm saying
this is when I was in pre-med, which my degree was, I had to take all the chemistries, all the biologies, all that doctors had to take. And then they went on for 4 more years to medical school.
But that's when they start raping people.
Well, you're not going to be, it just didn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't go against her personal experience. That's not going to school with doctors.
I just, they're still, doctors are friends of mine to this day. I have a high regard for doctors. This was like a slap in the face to the medical profession. And then the writer is educated at Oxford. And I'm thinking, what the heck? Maybe Oxford University.
I mean, that's like saying priests would never. I mean, you can't.
No, she has more respect for doctors than priests.
No, I understand that, but how can you? These guys, if you the movie, the premise of the movie is they're 21 years, 20. How old were they? They were young people.
They were 20, 23, 24.
We don't know how old they were when they started. We have no idea. I mean,
well, I do, because you start after high school, 18, and then to 22, you would graduate from.
Okay, so they're still young people. There's young people.
Yeah, but then this woman, Cassie, the character, she was 30. So, and she's wasting her life. Something happened, and she's going to, be judge, jury, and executioner on something that happened to somebody else.
Well,
it was just to me, it was okay. I don't want my experience as a woman, strong woman coming up in my life is nobody who's going to do something like it's going to affect me. They're not going to get inside of me. If I happen to have been raped, that's something that somebody did, but that has nothing to do with me. That doesn't, that penetration is not going to penetrate me. It's not going to change my life. It's not going to ruin me, because then
then you're very lucky. Yeah. And you're very lucky you're very lucky to not have the experience of trauma that most people have. Well, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that if that's your personal experience, I think that's very fortunate.
I believe that women are a lot stronger than that. And that's why, I'll just say this. I was raped and the situation was, I didn't let that destroy me. And I moved forward with my life. And I just thought, I'll be damned if that's going to affect my life. And I moved forward, and I'm pretty stable about that. That's something that somebody else did, not me. That's nothing to do with me. It's not because I was drinking. Well, I was drinking, but whoops, that's not a cause to get raped. But
that's true. It's not.
It's not, because that's not why. But I am careful. I don't think.
But you didn't find that the message of this film, I mean, just the fact alone, wait, Debbie, just the fact alone that you said I was drinking. I'm not going to, the message here is that shouldn't happen to anybody at any time.
Well, it shouldn't happen to you. It shouldn't happen to anyone.
Anybody.
Well, there's murders, and
we're not talking. Okay, but let's stick to this.
I don't think a group of see the way this was the whole thing.
I asked her if it were a group of architectural students, would you buy the movie? And she said yes. So doctors are
okay. Well, there's the pedestal again.
She does put doctors on a pedestal. I even went to Google and looked up doctors who rape. Just to say, look, doctors do.
What a movie show.
We watched Hospital. There was a doctor rape in that one.
Yeah, but it was cathartic.
Oh my God. All right. Just kidding. John, I want to get around, and we'll get back because this is fascinating. John, look, because John called me last night after he saw the film and said to me, "What is wrong with you guys?" Literally said, "What's wrong with you guys?" So I want to know what that sentiment was about.
I just feel like, this movie is not my cup of tea. And you guys all of you have said, well, it's not about bashing men, except all the men except two were creeps. In the entire movie, every man was a creep. The three construction guys that whistled at her were creeps. The boyfriend, who was, which you could read that coming a mile away. The sweet boyfriend who knew the friends. As soon as that woman had the phone and said, "I've got a tape," that telegraphed exactly what was going to happen. And the sweet guy that loved her was going to be a creep. That's what was going to happen. The bachelor party at the end, they set the guy up. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He said, "No, I love her. I don't want to do anything like this." She forces herself on him. handcuffs him.
He could have said no.
He
could have said no.
He goes, look, I'm not comfortable. No, I don't get paid if we don't go upstairs. He didn't want to go
Still
upstairs.
could have said no. You see,
Okay, so let's not
He said,
pretend
"I'll
like
pay you."
let's not pretend like when she sat there in the beginning. You talked about your daughter. Would your daughter sit there absolutely shit-faced, spreading her legs out for them to see, to lure the guy?
I have
to
no.
take her home.
I hope not.
So to me, okay, she's got a little responsible. I'm not saying for the end result actions, but for kind of luring the guys, the nice guys, right? So for me, it's not my cup of tea. Now, I will say I thought her performance was excellent. I really enjoyed her performance. It was so up and down, you know. You could see what she was dealing with. But it's just one of these movies that for me, it's not why I want to watch a movie. I don't want to watch a movie and then talk about rape and what people have to go through for you know, a movie review show. That's for me, that's just not what I want to do when I watch a movie. And as I'm watching this movie, that's what's going through my head. It doesn't mean I take away from the performance, because I don't. And I'm not going to say I wasn't interested to see what was going to happen. And I found that last scene extremely disturbing. But her plan that this was probably going to happen also seemed to be kind of out of left field to me. But for me, it's just not my cup of tea. It's not. You guys know my taste in movies, so I'm sure you're not surprised about how I feel about it. So that's the thing with me. So that's what I thought.
Also,
about.
I mean, okay.
The one thing I can point out too is that even though, you said they made a lot of the guys out to be creeps, but it wasn't. She was also doing this to a couple of women to get them to make sure, because they were pushing stuff under the rug too. You know, the dean at the school.
It's funny, John,
and her friend. I mean, her close, her friend, Alison Brie,
and the teacher when she pretended to kidnap the daughter.
You just did the exact thing that the movie made a point of: is you blame the woman.
Yeah, that's just what I did.
Well, you have to
exactly what I did, Ruff. I
blame the woman because she was sitting there spreading her legs. You said it's her fault because she was spreading her legs.
No, I said you brought up your daughter. I said, would you want your daughter to do something like that?
That's not the point. I'm talking about in this film. You're blaming the woman.
I'm not blaming.
I'm blaming the woman. I'm blaming.
You completely blame the woman.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
You didn't blame the guy that took her home and did what he did.
Except you forgot the part when I said I'm not talking about the end result. Okay, when I said that, I'm not blaming the woman.
All I'm saying is you still blamed her. So
I keep hearing
you led right into what the movie's about.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that Connie Britton scene where she's played the dean of that college. And even she, as a woman, you'd think, okay, she's going to side with this, and she didn't. Because it's all about, you can't. So I think that's why it's so powerful. For me, that's why it's so hit home for me. Because to buy into any, you put doctors on a pedestal. The minute you start putting people on pedestals, that's when this shit happens.
Because Ralph and I know one thing: only editors belong on a pedestal.
Listen, we could all go back in our past and look at what happened in 90s and 80s, and we could all be in this situation. So I'm not saying I'm an innocent dude. And I think that's part of where the guilt comes. Like, this is making guys look, because we all know how we think. We all are those guys. We're all the construction guys. Come on. Who are looking at a beautiful woman walking across the street. All of us do that. Not a one of us guys in this group, and probably Debbie did it for guys too. Who knows?
No, I tell you what, I'm on a different plane. I don't understand a lot of this, what's going on in psychology or what's going on. But when I would go to work and there would be construction guys working there and they would be whistling, I was so happy. I wouldn't look in their direction, but it made me feel, they were appreciating me. And I really like that. And even when we went to Italy, my cousin, she's like Italian, totally Italian. She said, "Oh, now when we go to Italy, guys are going to pinch you, and don't be surprised." Well, I was going to Italy, kind of looking forward to it, and nobody pinched me. I was so disappointed.
My cousin, on the other hand,
on her side, because
guys would follow her into stores.
Oh my gosh, they were like And I was living vicariously. We would go into a shop and there'd be guys going into the shop. She goes, Debbie, watch. And she would go in and then I would, follow her. And then sure enough, those guys would come into the shop, and she got pinched, but not me.
I never experienced that.
All right, Sean. Okay, don't. Okay.
But let me talk.
I want you to talk about the film.
The movie as a movie.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Please do.
Yeah. So I will say that this movie validated something of mine. As you know, I am a screenwriter. Ooh, ring the bell. No, just kidding. But I do a series of blogs about screenwriting, writing tips. And there was something I've noticed about films from the 70s that have I've read every book probably printed up until about 2010 about screenwriting. And they never dealt with the issue of films that have, dark endings, because there's always at the end of the second act there's something called the big gloom, which is the title that sort of sticks to it. It's that all is lost moment. But if you watch films that have a bad ending, there can be no big gloom at the end of the second act, because the big gloom is the end where the person dies or whatever. So I wrote a blog and I noticed it structurally, no one else had ever written about this. The structure at the end of the second act of a movie that has where the character dies or something, there is a big triumph. And I wrote a blog called The Big Triumph. So I have to pat myself on the back, because I think I'm the first person to deal with that in screenplays. So when they had that big musical montage where she's like, her and the guy are in love, and it looks like it's going to work out, I think I turned to Debbie and our guest and said, oh, we paused, but I said, it's not going to work out well, And then my friend who had seen the movie previously said, what do you think is going to happen? I said, she's going to die. I could tell because she was big. She was happy at the end of the second act. So I knew she had to die, because structurally it's the only way it would work, having that scene there. And I just, as a story, I didn't believe it. And it's not that I didn't believe the overall story. It isn't that I disapproved of the overall story. It's like there were so many things that were not explained or just didn't make sense in the real world to me. Like, she had done this a lot. There were pages of X's and crosses.
The book.
And if you noticed in the book, she was using red pencils and black pencils. And we only ever saw, quote unquote, dates or incidents that involved the black pencil, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm wondering what happened in the red pencils.
Yeah, I just
don't believe in a story that, unless she was, and they didn't say what town she lived in, I don't think she could have done that as many times as she did without being completely exposed, and people know, and like the one guy does know who she is, but or being killed, because I would have enjoyed the movie a lot more if she killed these people. Of course she couldn't have killed that many people, because that would have been noticed too. But to me, it's sort of like, it doesn't, I didn't see what it was approving, just to say, you see, I wasn't drunk. Don't you feel bad? And I'm sure the guys, probably any guy who was willing to have sex with a girl while she's drunk or asleep like that, he would probably felt bad for a second, but I'm sure he would, do it again, because it's just, his nature. He's not like, well, I should remember what that one girl said. To me, I don't think that would necessitate change. And it also really pissed me off with the handcuffs.
Yeah.
Why that one handcuff just happened, happened to come loose. Why? Because it needed to for the story, and that handcuff thing just like ruined the film for me. It's like there's a million ways you could have set that up, that was going to happen if you really wanted to do it. But to me, that it was just sloppy. It was sloppy writing. So if you say, your brother is blaming the woman, well, I'm blaming the screenwriter. Who happens to, I think these things, it was just accumulation of a lot of little things like that. And I think this is a kind of a movie that's trading on an issue, and because there's an issue involved, you're supposed to overlook, you're supposed to overlook story for it. But I don't think she could have done this 100 times without being killed by
Yeah.
without
She
there
said a
being,
bunch of people were doing it though. She said
What?
she's not the only one.
Yeah, but I don't believe that she was saying
Well, that was the story. That was the cover story.
that was a cover
Yeah.
story.
Oh,
And here's the thing.
sure.
I don't like to be manipulated like that in this movie. I felt like I was watching an ABC after
Oh my God.
school.
Every movie's a manipulation.
I thought it was a
Come
late
on.
night
Shawshank
thing.
Redemption was a manipulation. You guys all talked about
You're
the
supposed to
scene
be
with
manipulated
the
in the
lights.
movie. That's
That's a
what makes it
manipulation.
interesting.
Don't tell me you don't believe. That's crap. I don't want to be manipulated by a movie. Come on.
We don't want to be obviously manipulated.
Obvious.
Oh my God. Okay. All movies are manipulation.
Every movie manipulates you.
That's
I
right.
read that they changed the ending. They added the ending to this.
All these little, and I wish I had written them down because there were a bunch of them. Every time I'm getting into the movie, something like that happens, and it just would piss me off, because it would take me out of the movie. It's just a lot of little things that like that.
Okay.
I love that the mother gave her the gift, the luggage. The mother and father.
That was actually one of the best moments.
Don't try and talk me out of saying it.
She-
Okay. So you meet your boss, okay, the woman's boss in the coffee shop. She says to the doctor, she's dating this doctor, and she says, "What kind of doctor are you?" "I'm a baby doctor." And you know what she says? "How many babies have you killed?
What kids have you killed?
How many kids have you killed?" Now, what is that mean? What does that mean? Would you meet a doctor? Your child is getting married to a doctor or somebody, and somebody says, "How many kids have you killed?" Really?
It seemed really out of character
That's stupid.
because her friend was trying to get her out, trying to get her to date, and then it's sort of like she's driving this guy away.
That's so stupid.
But that was just like one of like
Yeah, but spitting in the coffee didn't drive him away.
No,
Nothing was gonna
I
drive
like
him
that.
away.
I kind of
like
thought
that.
that was
I
cute.
like that he drank it.
Yeah, I really did.
I would have drank it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I would have drank it. But then again,
That
some
was
of you,
one scene. If it would have been a different movie, if she would have written a different movie, if this would have been a light comedy or a satirical movie, I would have loved it, and did something like that. But no, it's got to be punishing men.
I would debase
So I
myself.
would not want to see this as a comedy because I would not find that funny at all.
You wouldn't find that funny drinking the spit?
The movie in general, I mean,
Oh, okay.
it would not be good as a comedy.
I would have liked it better if she
But
was
you'd have
killing
to
the
change
guys.
everything.
Yeah.
Drew, get it.
I like medical school. I like medical school stories, but this is not,
Well, it's post-medical school.
And that's great, Debbie, that you didn't have that experience, that you had a good experience, but not everybody does.
Well, she
And-
did.
Listen,
and
if
not
you
everybody has the
ask,
same
if
reaction.
you
You
ask,
meant about the school.
The school,
Okay, yeah, okay.
but
the school.
if you ask a man, what's the worst thing that could happen when you go on a date, they'll probably say, I didn't get laid. If you ask a woman, what's the worst thing that could happen if you go on a date, they'll
Murder.
probably say, I could get murdered, because
Yeah.
that's the truth. This movie is real as far as what the experience of being a woman is. If that's not your personal experience, that neither invalidates your personal experience, because it doesn't, but that also doesn't mean that it's not true. I mean, there's
Yeah,
a reason
exactly.
this movie has connected with so many people. That doesn't mean that it has to connect with you. That doesn't mean that you have to like it. Like, I really thought, I presumed that, John, you were going to say this movie is not my cup of tea because you like to go to the movies for fun. I also think you're someone who can appreciate a movie for its craftsmanship, for the choices it makes, all that kind of stuff. Not that you have to appreciate this movie for that, but that's why I think it's worth everybody's time to see this movie. The problem is also, I think this movie is a tragedy. I don't think it has a doom and gloom ending. In fact, I think the ending is the most unrealistic part. It's very satisfying as a movie,
I thought,
but most of the time a woman in this situation gets murdered, and there's no justice. And what her goal was to get justice, and she got justice. The people who murdered her get arrested, and we don't see what happens to them. I mean, odds are they
She
won't get
murdered
enough punishment,
herself.
that sort of stuff.
Okay, let me make this point. She murdered herself.
I think that's bullshit. I'm sorry. I don't think that you can say I made myself vulnerable and then I got murdered. That's my fault. She wasn't making herself vulnerable. She was looking for vengeance.
She expected she was going to die.
That's why she
put herself in harm's way.
She thought, yeah, she did, because of what she thought she was doing was right for her friend. I'm not saying I think that's right, but that's what she was doing. Everything she did in the movie makes sense. If your experience with trauma and what trauma does or doesn't do to your life isn't the same, again, that's fine. That doesn't invalidate your experience. But I mean, I can relate to a lot of what happened to this person in this movie, and I cannot relate to a lot of what happened because I'm not a woman. But I didn't spend the movie saying, I don't know why she feels that way, because this is a woman and her story is my friend. And, you know, there's something about, and they were friends since they were kids. And there's something about kids, and I think especially girls, you're my best friend, I would do anything for you. She feels in a lot of ways that she couldn't protect her best friend, and she wanted to get justice for her best friend. That may or may not make sense, but I believe that that's what her character wanted to do, and her character believed that extremely. Other people, like you said, other people may have had the same experience, and they could go on with their lives, and that may or may not be healthy. They don't pretend that what she's doing is good for her. They don't pretend that anybody thinks it's healthy, but I didn't spend any part of the movie not understanding it.
The mother of Nina said, stop doing this. Stop.
Right. You need to move on. And this character could
people
not
were telling
move
her
on.
to stop. So there was something wrong with her. There's no question. She was going on a path that was not going to end well.
Well, look, I mean, some of what she does is she does what a lot of people wish they could do when they're confronted with situations. You wish you could tell somebody what you're doing is wrong. That scene where that guy is an asshole to her in the car, right? And she gets out of the car and she smashes his truck, and the Wagner is playing. I mean, it's an amazing scene.
Yeah, who doesn't want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, if you can't relate to that, then I would say that you're unusual for not being able to relate to it. But most people that relate to that, I've never done that. I'm not going to do that.
Listen, I want to reiterate something, because Maria, Maria said exactly what Drew just said. And it's not expert on everything. I'm not trying to say that. But she's always said to me, at any moment when a woman goes out with a guy, because I met Maria through online dating, right? So she's been out on a bunch of online dates. And she said the exact thing that Drew just said is, you always think that at any moment you could be murdered. I know that it seems odd to have that feeling, but you're in that vulnerable situation that you could be, you don't know what's going to make that thing go. And I think that's what this movie tapped into, the vulnerability. And then the second part of it, which is nobody believes that you're that vulnerable. It can't be true, because I don't feel that way. I never feel that vulnerable. Right. Well, you can't put yourself in that situation. So it's just, it seems disingenuous that you would like throw it away and go, move on. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Come on. You can't do that.
Well, I think
that's what this movie brought up from me.
I think in our society today, there's a lot of fear. And,
sure.
You know, I think.
And anger. There's a lot of dudes out there who get pissed off because they feel like I deserve. This is how many people get shot because some dude deserves to have sex with people. And he thinks he should be having sex with anybody he wants because he's a cool dude. Incels, whatever that is, where people who get frustrated because they can't,
San Bernardino shooter.
Right.
He's just one of them. Yeah.
Right. That's one out of how many?
Yeah.
And as a woman, how do you negotiate? I don't know how you do it.
Debbie,
I applaud you. I applaud your strength. I really do. I truly do. But I just don't I don't know how you do it.
You got to be strong. You have to face life on life's terms. These things happen. People do get, murdered. They get raped, but that shouldn't stop a person from living their life and going out and finding joy.
But it does stop some people.
I don't understand. I don't understand that there's what should happen and what does happen. And if what happens or doesn't happen for you personally or any other individual does or doesn't happen, I can't say that, you feel something wrong or you don't feel something or something should happen. But I mean, there are a lot of people who don't just get past it. I've dealt with mental illness my entire life. I've had a lot of people say to me when it comes to depression, well, just fake it till you'll make it. Just chin up. All that.
Just watch a happy movie.
It's bullshit. it's bullshit from my experience that that's how you deal with things. Now, if I was in this character's position, would I say I think that I wouldn't be able to get past what happened to my friend? I have no idea. I haven't been in that situation. But the way that women are treated in this movie and what causes her character, Cassie, Carey Mulligan's character, to behave the way that she behaves, it's one of those things. This is what really happens. Like for many, many years, a lot of people, mostly white people, but a lot of people, you could say to them, black people get pulled over by the police a lot more than white people. And a lot of white people would go, that's not true. Come on, that's ridiculous. Why would police do that? Well, now you have video, not only that happens a lot, but the potentially fatal consequences of that happens a lot. Guess what? You're seeing it. It's not that it just started happening. So if a woman says, I had this experience and it didn't affect me the way that I think people say it should affect me, that's fine. That might even be wonderful. But to say I was the victim of something and then I got past it because I'm strong, that's good for you. But people don't get past it, not because they're weak, but because that's what pain and trauma and this kind of destruction is. And this movie does not say that Cassie is getting better in some way or that she's a healthier person by what she's doing. She is clearly doomed. Yeah. She's doomed. Yeah, it's tragic.
That kind of thinking doesn't resolve.
But it's not thinking, it's feeling. That's the whole point. She didn't consciously decide, I am upset about what happened to my friend, therefore I will do this. No, she felt this agony and this is how she acted.
But also remember, Debbie, in the context of the film, and Sean brought it up, that scene in the pharmacy where they're playing the Paris Hilton song and everything seems groovy, right? Now, when I first saw that guy walk in the coffee shop, and he mentioned that he knew the guy who she eventually goes to the bachelor party, I knew right then and there that this guy was going to be caught up in it. I knew it. Okay. But she didn't know it until her friend showed the video.
Right.
And her whole life just right then and there, done. She was done. And she's on her way to whatever's going to happen.
The video. Who's going to take the video? And the video suddenly shows up. Okay,
okay. We're talking about movie tropes now. Okay, I got it.
That's not a movie trope. There's all kinds of cases where people have assaults on video. That's not new. That's not fake. That's just true. People videotape all kinds of ridiculous.
No, not that it was videotaped. That it just suddenly.
No, here it is. Molly Shannon.
Molly Shannon. It was the Alison
Brie's character
who was hiding something from the get-go. And okay,
and Alison Brie Brie was taught a lesson, and what she took out of that lesson was
that's what triggered that coming up.
Yeah, maybe
she didn't think it was a big deal at the time, and then when she had it happen to her, or thought it had happened to her,
right.
She had a whole different perspective.
Well, that's typical. It doesn't matter until it happens to you.
Now I have a question.
That's the lack of empathy, unfortunately. Yeah.
Did it happen or did it not happen to her? Did the guy have sex with her? Because he said, "Do you still want to do this?" And she said, "Yes."
No, Alison Brie's character.
Yeah,
the way I read it is that the guy did not actually sexually.
She said
the punishment was not. I'm going to pay this guy to rape you. The punishment was, I'm going to let you think.
Right.
You don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Right.
And you don't know what happened because you were drunk, and then you didn't have that agency. The whole thing is about how people are vulnerable and don't have the agency to say, I want to do or not do things. That's literally what the men do to her every time she takes them home. I don't feel like the movie had scenes where she took people home and they actually took care of her. I'm sure that does happen. I mean, I've never taken anybody home and taken advantage of them when they were drunk. That doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that it's not real, but it's possible if she did it 100 times that 3 guys, 5 guys, 10 guys really just took her back to her apartment. That's not the bulk of the experience, but that doesn't make it.
That could be the black
true.
Marks and the red mark. Who knows?
Right.
Now,
Yeah, we don't know what the colors are.
Would you have been happier if she was actually like, this was a serial, like she was killing these guys at the end?
That's what Sean said. Yeah.
Macabre, like black comedy. Would that have been better?
Would you have been?
I don't.
Like Jerry said, I think we've seen that before.
I don't want
this is a little
Last House on the Left.
No, I want this movie to be fixed. This is what I would do. I would just, start with this woman who's stuck in this revenge mode, and this guy comes along and, changes her mind to do these things, that she's been doing this behavior.
The doctor.
Yeah.
You're saying for the doctor to be
You'd
someone
want the
who
doctor to
improves
be
her
the
life.
hero that saves her.
No, it would be her coming to herself, not, why
Through
did
the
she-
doctor, by the doctor
why did
being
she- why does a woman, go and spend all, she's up towards the end and then this happens.
Obviously she's
Because
not.
she's been traumatized.
She's traumatized.
Right.
Exactly.
And this is
She's not rational
reaction
decision
to
making.
it. And everybody's reaction to something like that.
No rational decision is going
Yeah,
to come
that's-
out of this.
Brad is right.
She
It's
said it was
not-
rational what she did.
right.
Well, here's the thing. Let's take a look at it this way. I'm sure everyone here saw the original Death Wish
I'll
with
be right back.
Bronson. In that case, once again, it was not Drew leave.
What?
Coming right back.
The dog did something.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Did the dog make a bad choice?
Might have.
Okay. Okay. So we've all seen Death Wish, or, shame on you if you haven't, with Charles Bronson. In that case, once again, the wrong was not committed to him. Some people broke in, they raped his wife and daughter.
Jeff Goldblum.
And the wife died. And he, who was once a conscientious objector, goes on a revenge spree, killing people unrelated to the crime. And I think that's what made the first film work, and the remake with Bruce Willis didn't, because suddenly he's going after the real people. The randomness of it, sort of, well, let's not get to the sequel. But the reality is the audience cheered every time he shot somebody. Not only that, at the end, when he's leaving and he's going to Chicago, I believe, and he's in the airport, there's some kids acting up, and, he goes like that with his hand, like he's going to shoot him. And the audience is relieved.
Yeah, but Sean, honestly,
what I'm
here's
saying
the
is,
Sean,
it's because she's a woman in this film that people are having it there. If it was
and every guy knows you've maybe in that position at one point in your life. In Death Wish, I would never think I'm a rapist that's going to rob and kill and do all that. In this movie, you go, I might have been in that position 10 years ago. I don't know. So that's the difference. You can't, there's no cathartic thing, because you might be it might have been you're the problem.
Yeah, well, you see, I don't have that same feeling. I only went on 3 dates. I only dated 3 girls.
Okay. Well,
maybe. I wish I had more experience.
All right. Well, let's. I don't know where Drew went. Let's. When he gets back, we'll rate this thing.
Well,
Yippee-Ki- what?
Did you say rape this thing?
No.
Rate. You got rape on the brain. You're the problem.
Hey, 4 out of what's it? 4 out of 5 movies were rapey, or is it 3 out of 4?
I want to hear Mojo's. What is her
Well,
opinion?
she liked it.
Well, wait. Let Drew put his headphones on. Drew, we're
All
gonna rate this thing now. Rate.
First, I want to
R-A-T-E.
know, what did the dogs do? Did the dog make a bad choice?
It was thank you. It was a kitten this time, and it's true. When I work with the animals that live in my house, I more than anything want them to make good choices, and sometimes you can see that they're not doing that. So,
all right, we're gonna rate.
For a
We're gonna
moment.
Yippee-Ki-Yay this one. Okay, we're gonna start with Brad, since Wojo.
Brad and Wojo both get a thumbs
boom.
up.
John.
I give Carey Mulligan a big thumbs up. I give the movie a thumbs down.
The Yippee-Ki-Nay, you mean? Not a thumbs up.
Yippee-Ki-Yay.
That's a Roger Ebert thing. We can't do that.
Oh, that's right.
Sean
I'm sorry.
and
That's
Debbie?
copyrighted.
I definitely give Carey a mulligan.
I like
That's
that.
twice. That's
I
twice.
want-
I laugh both times. It's still funny.
Awful.
Okay.
Awful.
Oh, wow.
But that means you didn't like what she did, and you're giving her another chance, right?
Yeah,
No, the whole-
she'll give her another
That's
chance.
what a mulligan is, right?
I think there'll be a sequel. We'll find out that she wasn't really dead.
Yeah.
If this movie makes more money, we'll see.
Sean?
Always away. Well, I'm not against the themes of the movie, but I am against structurally some of the stuff that was in. It was just, I felt lazy screenwriting at times. I think, so I'm gonna go thumbs down on the movie, but I thought there were some very
You
good-
mean Yippee-Ki-Nay? You guys with the thumbs down.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, my
I
God.
thought I was Roger.
What the hell's the branding for? Jesus.
You
Drew?
see, I hate to say it, but I don't know how to react to a movie now that Roger Ebert's dead, because
I know. He was, he'd be. Go ahead, Drew.
well, I mean, I'm going to say Yippee-Ki-Yay. This is one of my favorite movies of last year, and I hope because I haven't seen all the Oscar nominees yet, but I hope when I see stuff that I really want to see, like Another Round or Minari, if they have as much of an effect on me as this movie, that'll have been a very good year in the award season, because I thought this movie was spectacular. And the only thing I can say about this movie that I am sorry about is that I didn't get a chance to actually see it in the theater because of the pandemic.
Do you think you would have had a different experience in the theater, Drew?
Well, I think it's important when you live in a world that has movie theaters as part of the experience. I think it's important to go and if it's a good movie, which you don't know till you see it, I think it's important to go and see movies like this in the theater, because I want them to keep making movies like this in the theater. That doesn't mean that movies that go directly to streaming or anything are worse or anything like that. But I'm not concerned that they're going to make another 5 Godzilla movies. I want them to make adult dramas, because this movie, if it had come out in the 70s, it would have been the big movie of the weekend, like Godzilla was last weekend, type of thing. So I think I want to encourage those kind of movies to be made. But also, I mean, this movie, that ending is genuinely shocking, that because you think it's happening, then you think, well, it's not gonna happen, and then the light changes from night to day. And I would have liked to have been with an audience, whatever their reaction was. I would have liked to have been in a room with other people.
You know what that would have been? It would have been a quiet room, I think.
Yeah, listen, I've looked on YouTube for certain moments in movies and just to see what audience reactions, because people record stuff, of different things. I think that's really part of the experience that I've missed. So yes, I would have been happy to see it in the theater for that reason. But I also think it's just an excellent movie in general.
Now I'm going to rate it Yippee-Ki-Yay. And I think our discussion really tapped into what I think the theme of this movie was going for, which is all the little things that we hit on. And I think it's a good conversation. And I think more people should see this film. And I think Carey Mulligan deserves, if she wins the Oscars, she definitely deserves. I don't even know who's up. I have no idea about the Oscars. Not a clue. But this made me a huge fan. I thought she was great.
This was the first year I have not followed the Oscars completely.
Yeah. Even the guy at the end who helps his buddy burn the body, basically. I've seen him. He was in the Big Short as one of the brokers, and he had a bit part in that. But I guess I found a lot of these people really good, and even the doctor boyfriend was good.
Bo Burnham.
I thought he gave one of the best lines. The guy who helped burn the body. He's like, "You killed the hooker." What is this, a '90s movie?
Right. I mean, they were going.
He played Schmidt in The New Girl, and he is the classic. Yeah. He's part of the casting brilliance of the movie.
Yeah, the nice
a number of people
that
played nice Jewish boys.
Yeah,
their roles, and that they were evil.
Right.
Evil in this movie.
Anyway.
And thank you guys for your honesty in the conversation. You clearly watched it and engaged with it seriously. And whether you liked it or not isn't relevant.
And honestly, I think this discussion.
I wish I'd have seen it a second time, because until I got here, I didn't know what I was going to say. This is the film I would have liked to have seen 2 or 3 times before I really spoke on it. But didn't have
okay,
time,
well,
so.
If you guys want to do this again next week, we can certainly talk about it.
Well,
speaking of next week, we've got the wheel ready to go. Go ahead, Debbie. You going to say something, or are you good?
If you rewatch this movie one more time, you will see that she masterminded her own death.
There's no question about that. I don't think that's a question.
Right.
I think she knew I think she knew. Chances are, because she threw all her stuff away, chances are she was going to die one way or another.
There was a good chance, yeah.
And I don't think that's the issue there. The issue was how she died.
Rape is bad, but murder is really worse.
That's how we're going to end this.
Maybe.
I don't think we should. Okay.
Well, I'll say one other thing that I forgot to mention. The soundtrack of the movie.
You got to spin the wheel, please.
Is amazing. The score is amazing, and
I thought it was very Bernard
music is
Herrmann-esque
amazing.
in places.
But the scene where she's walking, basically a doomed walk, was what Debbie is saying, to the bachelor party, is a string cover of Britney Spears' "Toxic." It's one of the greatest pop songs ever, and the way that song is used in the movie and the way that it works is it's just very powerful and very moving scene. So I think this is one of those movies that makes all sorts of great choices.
And by the way, #free Britney.
There you go. Now back to the show. We're going to spin the wheel. We only have 4 spinnies on this one, so get ready.
I'm not joking. I think she should be freed.
So last week we had 7 spinnies, and this week we only have 4. Okay.
I forgot to take the other ones off. Jeez, you guys are tough. Okay, here we go. You see the 4? John, Debbie, Brad, Sean. Ready? Oh,
Yeah.
Use that.
John.
I've
At
never
least
had
we
dark
know
hair
it's
like
gonna
that.
be a happy film. So,
Yeah,
right?
that's gonna suck, huh, Ralph?
Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Black and white, baby. Black and white.
Yeah, I might go classic.
Oh,
I mean, like Schindler's List.
I don't know yet.
I don't know why I'm laughing at that. I'm sorry. That was awful.
That's kind
all
of
right, guys,
anti-Semitic,
listen.
Ralph.
Good discussion. We always
It's not,
say that
I assure you.
discussions like this make good podcast. Debbie,
Yeah.
we appreciate everything you say. Sean, everybody, this is awesome. So
He's really coming out with some secret stuff on this podcast. I didn't think she was going to go there. You know
good.
about your life, baby.
I want to be a doctor.
Huh?
I'd like to be a doctor the way you look up to them.
Oh yeah, I love.
You don't look up to podcasters the same way?
Huh?
Podcasters and editors, you don't look the same way?
Oh yeah. The arts, it's art.
Art.
Our artists.
Is this still part of the show right now?
We're in. This is the show.
Just want to make sure.
All right. That's
No,
it.
I
All
have a
right.
question
So,
for Debbie. Our
well,
artists.
what?
The way doctors are.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Next week, Spotlight.
John, let us know in a couple days.
I certainly
Oh,
will.
if Spotlight comes up, I may have to talk about some things I experienced.
Okay.
Growing
If
up
you
in
do,
Catholic
you don't have to be.
So let's
alone
not
with
do
it, Sean.
Spotlight.
All right, everybody. Have a safe week. Sean and I are getting our vaccines tomorrow at the same place. And, Drew's wife, Kelly's getting it. So we'll have a little
Congratulations,
Vax talk,
everybody.
Maybe you can
I'm
actually
happy
next
for
show.
see
all
some
of
of
you.
you people in person.
If anything, drink some alcohol then afterwards. If you can't take an aspirin, drink some alcohol.
I have to bowl. I don't know which arm.
Actually,
I gotta
should
get
stay
stuck in my
hydrated.
right
You
arm.
You
Oh,
have
like
to
that.
bowl, so you can't drink. What?
No, I'm going to get stuck in the right arm so I can bowl with my left arm.
Oh,
See what
okay.
happens.
There you go.
So.
Are
All
they
right.
going to give you
All
a
right.
choice? Debbie was done on different arms on different weeks, so I guess you could choose which one you start with.
I think we can choose. So,
Ralph,
Drew,
I hope
maybe
you
I'll
have
see you
wonderful-
tomorrow.
I hope you have wonderful weather for your wedding, for Max's wedding this weekend.
It's going to be cloudy, but not rainy. So it's
Okay,
Have a
good.
wonderful
Enjoy.
time.
Thank you. All right, guys. Everybody have a safe week.
Bye.